ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fight for Our Freedom Radio. And I'm your host, Badbaby, accompanied by my co-host, Robert Pepino. And tonight we have with us Betsey Lewis, and we are going to have a great show.
We lost the bumper. Okay, everybody, I think we're back. The bumper music got cut off. I apologize for that, but we should be live. I don't think we've been kicked up. But anyway, I want to welcome everybody, Badbaby, welcome everybody to the show tonight. It's always a pleasure being here. She made me an honorary guest host on her network, which I love being here, by the way. I love being here with all you guys. But I put in the chat, we have, of course, I said hello to everybody, but we have a great guest this evening, and kind of a bit of a surprise. Our guest this evening is Betsey Lewis. Now, Betsey, I've known for quite a while. She's a terrific lady, just all in that of its own. She is a wonderful, wonderful person. We've had many personal conversations, and she's a terrific lady. But besides being a terrific lady, she is an author, and believe me, folks, she's written a lot of books. Now, Betsey has written her latest feature, The Serpent Gods, but let me give you a little background on her, just so you know. And I also put her website in the chat, so everybody can go there and you can read this on your own, whether you want to do it now or later. It's up to you. But just a little bit about Betsey here. Betsey is an author and Earth Mysteries investigator. Betsey Lewis is a gifted international psychic. Basically, she really is considered one of the best in her field. Her first paranormal event happened, and this is true, folks, because we've talked about this off air, happened with her parents at the age of 8 months old. Can you imagine that, right? By the age of 3, she was talking to her spirit guides, all right? At the age of 7, she began receiving lucid dreams and premonitions of her changes, which are now taking place worldwide shortly after her second UFO encounter in southern Idaho. For the past 40 years, guys, this is how long she has been involved in writing and talking about. The last 40 years, Betsey has investigated aliens, UFOs, the bizarre cattle mutilations throughout the United States, and other paranormal and earth mysteries. Now, she worked closely with renowned cattle mutilation investigator Tom Adams. Now, you guys thought I was probably going to say like Linda Moulton Howe. Tom Adams during the 1970s to uncover the mystery of the cattle mutilations. That's most likely where Linda most got her information from. So you are getting a directly a pun here, from the camel's mouth, so to speak. I don't know. But Betsey is terrific. For over 15 years, she has provided psychic, astrological, and numerological readings for an international clientele. So that should say something to you guys, okay? She's not naming names, but international clientele, gang. She also conducts past lives regressive hypnosis. Now, Betsey is, if you guys know who she, if you haven't had your head under a rock and been listening throughout the years, Betsey has been a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis, the Dr. Rita Louise Show, Dr. Michael, TV show, and other well-known TV and radio shows. She has penned, get this, gang, 9 paranormal books and 3 children's books. So I really recommend you visit her website, which is www.betseylewis.com. And with that, that took it out of me, Betsey. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Oh, boy. Thank you so much. That was really nice. What a great intro. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Betsey. Well, you know what? You and I have, throughout the guests that I had when I was doing my show, there were very few, and I'm sure you get this as well. There are very few people, even though you do the show and it's pleasant, and it's all it's cohesive, I guess. But there's very few which can connect and have that exterior relationship where we can talk outside of shop and go further into our lives, and how get more deeper into our own lives. And I always see, and I guess I always found that connection very personal for me. That perspective, that intimate relationship, really gave me a closer insight into you, and I always found that.
Oh, thank you.
Very
I felt the same
very
way.
heartwarming, Betsey. Very heartwarming.
Thank you. Well, I felt the same way. Kindred spirits here.
Yeah, no question about it. Now, we've got 2 hours to kill here, Betsey, and I want to make the most of this. Now, I know your most recent book is The Serpent Gods, and this is a pretty serious book you put out.
I did.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's out there, though, but I think that, I think it holds water. I really do. I think there's something to it. And what's really strange is, I know you started to get into it, my theory is that these reptilian aliens that people have talked about or had experiences, been abducted by, and ancient cultures worshipped serpent gods all over the world thousands of years ago. Who were these serpents? And they're still here. And I was listening to a radio show with Linda Moulton Howe recently, and she talked about serpent gods too, and just reptilians. And she believes that they've been around at least 250,000 years or longer. And that's what I believe, that somehow a species of dinosaur actually evolved. Certain species didn't evolve, some did, and I believe that, 250,000 million years is a lot of years to evolve.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to disagree with you. We're told, right? We're told by the so-called mainstream science that, humanity has been around this many years. Well, you know what? With all the information coming out from so many people saying, yeah, no, this doesn't make any sense, and the whole theory of Darwinism is really, in my opinion, completely fallen apart. I never believed that to begin with. Right?
I didn't either.
Yeah, I never believed that to begin with. But the reality is, what you just said is that, you can look all around the world through, even to the how do I want to say it, to the latest, earliest, if this makes sense, to the latest, earliest historical ancient records, meaning from the earliest that we have been able to uncover, and probably to the latest, which is probably correct, into hundreds of millions of years, all these different groups of humanoid species, for some reason or somehow, we're creating these little statuettes or very large statues or icons, call them icons, to who they were worshiping. Now, if this was only in one place in the world, then I'd say, well, okay, this may be questionable, but that's not the case here. This is worldwide, okay?
Right.
To these reptilian, reptoid-type beings that they have been, promoted or propagated to this level of being a deity. So it would certainly make sense with all the stories I've heard, Betsey, and then I want to get your take on this, is that we've heard numerous stories, not one, not two, not 10, hundreds of stories of people having encounters with some sort of, and this, I guess, comes into question, reptoid or insect-like being, which they are, but in my opinion, have a pretty hard time describing, because they in some cases, Betsey, they talk about, this insectoid with very large eyes, almost like a praying mantis type being, and then other stories, recounted by other people who had actual physical, encounters with these scaly type, reptilian type beings. So let's start from there and move forward.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, what's really interesting about there's so much, like you said, about our, evolution that, just doesn't make sense. Like we're supposed to be related to the great ape, not monkeys, but the great ape. And we're so different from the great ape. There's no way. And the thing is, if the great ape evolved into us, why are there still apes out there, gorillas?
That's my reasoning exactly. and what will they tell us, Betsey? They'll tell us, well, we split off into two groups. No, sorry, folks, not happening.
Well, everything about them, their jaws are different. They can't cry, they can't laugh. They're just totally different. I think they have an extra chromosome that we don't have. There's just it just goes on and on and on, how different we are than the ape. And I think we may have been genetically engineered by perhaps another intelligent race that was visiting here. And it could have been the reptilians. It could have been, supposedly there's 18 different species visiting us. Earth is considered a laboratory to them, and anything goes here. They can do whatever they want to us. And, people have seen human-type aliens that are the tall Nordics, 6'3", something like that, red hair sometimes, the grays, like you said, the reptilians, and some of those have been described with wings, the Dracos, there's the hybrids, the grays, there's some tall grays, there's the short grays. It just goes on. So I think there's just, it's like Star Wars in the bar. You walk in there and all these creatures are in there. That's what's visiting Earth right now. And many people, I believe, have been abducted, experimented on, and I think there are hybrids out there, people with Rh negative blood.
Yeah, that's been a big topic out there lately, the Rh negative blood. That very well could be, we're never going to get the straight answer from any mainstream scientist if they ever, want to continue forward in their career. Mm-hmm. So we already know that. But what's funny, Betsey, is that going back to the discoveries that Lloyd Pye made, he had direct connection. Remember, he had direct evidence from I think a genome scientist or a gene scientist who was involved directly in understanding the breakdown of our genome and our DNA, and told Lloyd, said, by the way, if I were to ever give him my name, I'd lose my job, I'd lose everything. But the reality is, human beings are intermixed with another species. So what you're saying very well could be very possible. And then there could be Betsey, there could be that break off as well, because I don't think it's only been one species that has been here to manipulate, but there had to be that original species that came here, took their DNA and mixed it with the hominid species of the planet at the time. And certainly, in my opinion, it was not the ape, but something other than the ape. And I choose to say, and I'll say this because I believe it, the hominid species is Sasquatch, Bigfoot. They talk about maybe that is the true great ape, but it's not an ape. Because apes do not walk upright. They do not walk upright.
They do not. No, you're right. Absolutely. So there's just so many questions out there, so many mysteries. And I think our government, our military, they've known a lot of things. They just don't want us to know. And just think, if people knew that maybe there is a reptilian race that lives underground and they've been abducting humans. I think in some cases, like Betty and Bob Luca, that were abducted so many times, and written by, Bob Fowler, or was it Raymond Fowler, wrote the books, The Watchers.
Yes.
They describe, like the Greys have this museum of humans through the races, through the thousands of years that humans had been on the planet. They actually saw that. It's too bad we don't have a museum of aliens. So
right? No, but what do we have, right? What do we do? The same as every other species, I guess. We have something called museums. Well, we have what? The simian species, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've got them all lined up in these little museums to show the progression of the human evolution, which is all false in my opinion anyway.
Sure.
But so, I mean, it seems like as above, so below.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I don't know if you've ever watched that YouTube video of Lisa from Canada. She's French, and her story of being a reptilian, maybe not a reptilian, but anyway, an alien hybrid. She has the most incredible story, and I've watched this many times, and I've just been blown away by her. Her mother was pregnant in 1975. She had had other kids, and the story goes that she was feeling tired. She went upstairs to lie down, and all of a sudden she was paralyzed. And she, out of the corner of her eye, she saw something gray come through the wall. And pretty soon there were two typical gray aliens in front of her. And she could hear them talking, telepathy. They weren't moving their mouths, but one said, she's not ready yet. And the other one said, yes, she is. And she kept saying, who are you? What do you want? And they didn't say anything more, and pretty soon they disappeared. She felt that she had talked them out of leaving. And in 1975, that's when she gave birth. She had a son, and she was still in the hospital, and the doctor went out, and everything was fine. They had, there was no problems with her pregnancy. And then all of a sudden, the nurse came running out and told the doctor, there's another baby. And he says, no, there couldn't be. There's no other baby. And that's when Lisa was born, which is really strange. And I guess she is like 6'3". She is telepathic. There's just a lot of strange things about her, but she also has that ORH negative blood, and her mother has that ORH negative blood. But what also happened was her mother, 14 years later, was abducted by a human-looking alien with red hair, and he took her into this place, this round room, and he had on a jumpsuit, and he had like a doctor's coat on, and there was an insignia on it like a medical with a serpent, which is kind of interesting.
Right.
And he said to her, she saw these bottles, and he said, this is all the medicine that could cure humanity of all its illnesses. And he said, you weren't supposed to get sick or ill, and and she thought that was so strange. Well, why would they hold on to all these cures and not help us if they had all those cures? But I have talked to another couple, and they don't want their names revealed, but they've been on TV and they've been on a lot of different shows. But I found out that they have a daughter that has ROH negative blood, and they said that they felt that after their abduction in the Mojave Desert in the early 80s that their daughter was going to be born an alien. So there's some really interesting things. And I don't know if you know anything about ORH negative blood, but there's some really strange things about it.
Well,
you know what? About it?
I was just going to say that, this is pretty new information for me, Betsy. About when I started finding out about the RH, Rh negative blood, that there's, obviously it's not the same as, A positive or B positive, negative, O negative.
Right.
So, all of a sudden this comes to light. I guess the question I need to ask you is that the powers that be, in your opinion, bringing this to light or allowing this to come to light to wake us up to a reality which they've been prepping us for a long time, I've got a follow-up question for that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. I think there is going to be this grand awakening because I think millions and millions of people have been abducted. I don't think everybody out there is hybrids, but I think they do. They're making, a lot of people out there do have children that are, alien, alien. I really believe that.
Betsey, are they trying to create their own mix of alien-human race, do you think?
I think so, absolutely. I think we're the grand experiment. They've been experimenting on us for eons, and they're going to continue. I think they've created a lot of these animals, and it's like I said, a laboratory. Anything goes on Earth.
I agree with you, and that's the thing. If you listen to David Jacobs and all the regressions he has done, which I know you have also done as well, it always seems to go back to the same MO, that you've got the Greys. And it's mostly related to the Greys who are abducting humans. They're not killing them, okay? That's craziness. I've never heard of a Grey killing anybody. But what I have heard is the same story of them abducting people, messing with the women's ovaries, messing with the men's sperm, and using it to their own means to, save their own species, repopulate their species in this hybridization program. I don't know, but I've sure heard that over and over and over. Now, there was Bud Hopkins. He called it, these aliens were completely evil. David Jacobs kind of says the same thing. I don't know where John Mack really stood on that, but I do know that this is happening.
Right. Well, there's so many different stories. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but UFOs fired on an American patrol boat during the Vietnam War, and they used their own missiles against them. I guess that there was UFOs that were showing up, and this patrol boat started firing on it, and this UFO actually turned our missiles against us and actually killed people on board. They hit them with their own missiles. So, there's stories of them deactivating missile silos, and then some they started to fire off. There was one incident, I think it was in Russia, maybe the incident happened, and actually they thought it was going to be activated, and they had to shut it down real quick. But there's so many, we've heard stories about pilots that have disappeared, just vanished when there was a UFO, they've radioed back the pilot saying he saw a UFO and suddenly they're gone. There's just a lot of weird stories. I think there's the good and the bad out there, just like humans. There's the good aliens that really care about us. Some look at us as maybe, dogs or something to experiment on, or rats or something.
Right. I mean, humans do the same thing, right?
Exactly, we do. Yeah.
So, I mean, I couldn't put it past them. I mean, the deal, in the 1940s, after the atomic bomb tests in New Mexico and Nevada, we discovered that that's when all these guys showed up, Betsey, and they're looking at the situation going, okay, the kids finally found the firecrackers, and they're starting to light them off. So we've seen a succession of events starting back in the 1940s and probably a little earlier, in my opinion. But
I think
we'll
it
just
might
go
be
with
earlier, Robert. Do you think that Do you think that Hitler was working with them? Because I've heard stories about that.
Hitler was into some weird things, really into the occult. And I know he's working on some UFOs.
Well, this
actually,
is why. Let me tell you a little story, Betsy.
Sure.
There's a man that did a YouTube video about his father was in World War II, and on his deathbed, he told his son, I have to tell you something that happened to me during the war, and I never told anybody about this, but he was the one that went out and searched the area before the troops came in. And him and another guy came across a cave, and they went in this cave, and it was full of children that were in cages, and they were half animal, half child.
Oh, my goodness.
He said they had feathers growing out of their skin, out of their back, and when they went, and they were pleading with them, get us out of here, help us, get us out of here. And he said he went back and told his commander, and they went and looked, and when what they saw, they said, what are we going to do? And he said they can't live a normal life like that, so they blew the cave up.
Wow.
Right, that sounds exactly like what was going on at the Dulce base outside of New Mexico. Exactly the same.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. Both Thomas Costello and Phil Schneider talked about Dulce, and they were there at different time periods. But, there's, according to Phil Schneider, he had 3 of his fingers, I believe, that were shot off or burned off by a laser by the aliens, and I think it was the reptilians and the Greys. And they're way underground, and supposedly our military's been working with them, but they're a little hostile. They're reptilians. They're not a nice group of beings. But what Thomas Costello said was even scarier, that they were doing genetic experiments down there, and it was conducted by the reptilians on humans, on men, women, and children. And some of them had gone insane. They were terribly disabled. They were caged in laboratories. One man talked about, how he tried to get away. He was abducted from his home, and Costello said he couldn't help him, that he feared for his own life. And I guess this Thomas Costello is actually in Europe hiding out somewhere. He's still alive, but Phil Schneider actually, they believe, was murdered for what he knew, what he was trying to tell the public. You probably know about that, Robert, right?
Oh, I mean, how do you put 2 shots in the back of your head and hang yourself at the same time?
Exactly,
Well, he was good, Robert. He was good.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
It's so scary what's going on, but, Betsy, have you ever heard of the book, I think it's 411 by the retired police officer?
Yeah, David Paulides, exactly, Mary.
Yeah, he talks about all of the missing people.
Oh, the missing people? Absolutely, yeah. I've listened to him. I haven't read his book, but I've listened to him on Coast to Coast, and it's scary, isn't it? These people just vanish. In a lot of them in the national forests, a lot of these parks, especially in California. But it makes you wonder. There's so many stories of people that just vanish. Are they being taken by these aliens to be experimented on?
That's
I kind of wonder. Absolutely.
The other thing that's very, very suspicious is, why do they not make it public that these people are being taken? Maybe because they don't want people not to go to the parks, but I wouldn't go there, would you?
Well, if you didn't know about it, but think about this, Badbaby, if you didn't know about it, right, you would still go. But the moment you found out that either that happened to someone in the park while you were there, or it happened to you, right, the government, as always, is just going to expunge all the records of your visitation to the park. It never happened. You were never there, right? They may send out those search parties looking for the single individual that was taken from your party, or all, right? But they're not going to make this public record. They'll never do that. Why? Because the revenue alone that they get from the park services alone yearly is probably adds up to probably about 5% of the GDP for the United States.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, I had read one story where a girl was jogging and something grabbed her and she got away, but she heard a voice say, here you go, I've got her. And then it was like whatever grabbed her was saying, I got a hold of her, and they go, here you go, like they were going to give her to somebody. But then she got away from them. But that's all. She didn't see anything. She just felt something had a hold of her, and she got away from it.
Right.
Well, there's so much going on out there, and you know we're just kept in the dark. You know, we're mind controlled out there by the powers out there, the elite, the Illuminati, or whoever you want to call them. But they don't want us to know these things, and you know they know that like Mars was once inhabited. I remote viewed Mars one time. I was in JPL when I remote viewed, and I saw them looking at these huge structures up there. I know that there was a great civilization that once existed there that died or something happened to them instantly. And, they know that. But they lie to us. And even on the moon, we know that there's structures up there. And we're told all kinds of stories,
Well, Betsey just brought up something really poignant here. You were there at JPL when you reviewed what was going on at Mars. You know.
Yeah.
Now we also know that some deserts here on planet Earth have been vitrified by nuclear explosions going back hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years.
Yeah.
I think the same thing happened on Mars, and maybe we are a byproduct of originally what was created on Mars, brought here, and then manipulated once again. I'd like to get your take on that.
Yeah. Well, I think that maybe as a civilization, look where we're headed right now. I think many of us are Atlanteans returned, and, we just didn't get it right before we destroyed, Atlantis with our technology, and here we are again destroying the earth. The overpopulation, we're polluting our water everywhere. You'd think maybe the aliens would step in, but I think they're just watching us, They're probably waiting for us to really destroy ourselves. And maybe that's why they're creating the hybrids. They see where we're going. They know where we're going. They seem to know the future. And time seems to be manipulated by them. Time and space, they understand that. And they're so advanced, so far advanced than we are. It's really amazing. They can go through walls. Many people have described that they actually seem to leave their bodies when they're taken from them. Betty, Andreas, and Luke had described that so many times. Of course, she saw it as a religious experience.
Right.
And she felt that maybe they were angelic, but I don't think so.
Is she describing what happened to me when I had my outer body experience?
I don't know. Maybe you need to tell her, and then she'll tell you that.
Sure.
On the night that Fukushima happened, I felt like I was flying, and I hit the wall at the end of my hallway, and there was like a shadow person there, a man. We both hit the wall, and he got up and said, F this, I'm out of here, and he went down my steps and through the wall. And I was like, what the heck's going on? And I was looking around, and I looked down the hall, and I could see myself laying in the bed. And then I could see the silver cord like waving in the air. Mm-hmm. That's when I realized I wasn't in my body. And I went, oh, my God, I'm not in my body. And then I went down the hall, and I hit my body, and the bed jerked. And I woke up, and I said, oh, my God, what just happened to me? So I got up and turned the TV on, and they were showing that Fukushima had just happened. I don't know if that has any correlation to what was going on, but I saw this shadow person or whatever go down the steps and through the wall.
Wow, isn't that something? Well,
I think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Betsy. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to. I was just going to mention John Lear, who was he's still around, but he's a conspiracy theorist and a former CIA pilot, and he's been on Art Bell's show many times, coast to coast. But he said that there are 18 species of aliens watching us. Some are good, some are hostile. Some are indifferent to humans, but he said that greys are cybernetic organisms or glorified robots, and that they work under the reptilian lords, and they monitor us and abduct us. And he said that that humans have been genetically corrected 65 times, and the aliens call us containers, which is kind of interesting. And I guess there's just been so many civilians that have disappeared without a trace. He's talked about that and experimented on, and the military just doesn't want us, to know about it. Can you imagine how people would panic if they knew that these reptilians are underneath our feet? They've been here forever. And I think that's why we see UFOs entering and exiting water, oceans, and in and out of volcanoes, dormant volcanoes. They live underground.
Well, didn't Princess Diana refer to the Queen and them as lizard people?
Yes, like David Icke, huh? Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting that they're like the head of the world that run this planet?
Mm-hmm.
The Queen and the Pope. I think the Pope looks like a lizard person.
Yeah, well, I
definitely do.
Look at George H.W. Bush. I think that face is not a nice face. I really believe people have the faces they deserve, and I really feel that he's very dark, and I know I've read books about how dark they are, and involved in satanic type things and abduction of children, and now we're hearing about all this sexual harassment and everything. Things are going to start coming out now. It's going to be big. I mean, the things we're going to see leaders fall. We're going to discover things about people that our heroes are going to fall. It's
being lifted, isn't it, Betsy?
Mm-hmm.
I was simply going to say those people are certainly not my heroes, but you can certainly see what's going on in Saudi Arabia now. All these so-called princes being arrested, so on and so forth.
Right.
But you going back to the RH thing, I just thought about this, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this. Is that all of a sudden we get this RH, blood DNA thing coming out in the open, right? Now, what if, and I get your opinion on this, what if all these people like George Herbert Walker Bush, his sons, and their predecessors, the grandfather, Prescott Bush, who actually funded the Nazi regime for World War II, do you think maybe that they were part or have been and still are part of that alien RNA blood regime that is now coming to the forefront because it's being exposed?
Yeah. Oh, I think so. Absolutely. I think they are part of all that. And I think that eventually some things are going to come out about them. It may not be that they're reptilian, but I think we're going to find out more and more about these people and how dark they are and involved in dark things, dark occult things. And I think they've been, that's part of the reptilian thing. I'm not saying all reptilians are bad. I think there might be some good ones out there like us, but there's some very bad ones too.
See, I agree with you. Because I always say, as above, so below. Look, we've got good humans, we've got bad humans. And I think that exists simultaneously throughout our galaxy and throughout the universe. There are the ones out there who do care about other species. There are ones who just don't give a damn. And the ones who they basically look at as cockroaches, as experimental things to play with. I can see that clearly. This is where I disagree with Dr. Stephen Greer. He thinks all aliens, are benign. I can't agree with that, just because if they are willing to mutilate human beings, cause pain to human beings for whatever reasons, well, then that's not exactly benign. That is that's that's for experimental purposes, and they don't care whether it hurts someone or doesn't. So that's where my disagreement comes with him.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of these aliens have lied to people like Betty and Bob Luca. They, had pain. They felt pain. And a lot of other people feel pain when they're being experimented on. So how can that be benevolent? If they're hurting people, they're causing pain, and they're doing something against their will. That's not angelic, not in my view anyway. So I just don't understand how Betty can relate to that and say that she feels they're angelic, but, that was her experience because they took her, in this glass, beautiful land, and it was kind of like she was walking, like they were downloading her memories and took her down the yellow brick road, from, of course.
See, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. I think they can project because they're able to project thoughts into our mind and make us able to see certain things a certain way. So if they want it to be benevolent, they'll make it that way. If they want it to be malevolent, they'll make it that way.
Yeah.
So because they have that ability to do that.
Yeah. And I think that many people have had religious visions of Marian visions or whatever. I think those are aliens. And I think the children of Fatima in 1917 actually were visited by aliens because of all the things that happened, the sounds and the orbs. And then on the last, they always showed up on the 13th day of the month for 6 months, and always at solar noon. And then on the final day, October 13th, the last visitation to the 3 children, you probably know this story, but the sun started dancing in the sky. It had been raining all day, and I think it was a giant UFO because everybody described it as silver with a sharp edge. Everything that a UFO looks like. Nobody described it as the sun, and only people within a certain radius of Portugal saw this, this incredible vision, and nobody else did see it. Astronomers didn't see anything strange about the sun on that day to explain what happened. So, and
I agree with you, and I absolutely agree with what you're saying. There was also around, I think, the 1930s or 40s, or it could have been even the 50s or 60s, I don't remember. There was a woman from New Jersey who was having visions about something called the Red Ball of Redemption, which I found really, really interesting because it kind of describes the same scenario. It's kind of like what we're going through now, and kind of described of the idea of what the Fatima prophecies were at that time. But I think this was in the 50s or the 60s, and and it was never really well publicized. But there's enough information on there that you can say, wow. This is the link I'm trying to make, is that it always comes down to they, the guys upstairs, they use that religious context to but to create their illusions or manifestations in a religious or biblical context to keep kind of people, locked into that idealism. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I really don't know because, in essence, as far as religion's concerned, there are some really wonderful things in there. You know what? Don't lie to each other. Don't steal from each other. Don't do things that are going to hurt other people. That's the basic idea. So are they trying to tell us that, hey, there's certain things going to be coming down, and we've manipulated your DNA to this point to hopefully get through these catastrophic events that we're getting ready to face, which I know we're going to talk about in the second hour, the predictions. Or are they using that as a suppression technique to keep us all huddled together in fear? I'd like to get your take on that, Betsey.
Oh, well, that's very good, Robert. I think so. I think they are keeping us in fear. And I think the people that run the world right now, the Illuminati, the elite, whatever you want to call them, the cabal, whatever, they're keeping us in fear. They're actually controlling us through our radios, through our cell phones, through TV, the news. You know, what Donald Trump is saying, fake news. He's so right about the fake news. And they're controlling us. They're controlling our emotions. You know, I know everything is vibration in this world, everything. And I feel that the vibration of the earth, you know, Earth is feeling our vibrations right now, and it's at a very low place right now. And you know, we're doing that. Everything, we're affecting everything. And even the Native Americans, you know, the indigenous people say that if we start honoring Earth and everything, we'll have less Earth changes. Things will get better, but right now everything is out of balance. We're out of balance. And it's just getting crazier. We can all feel the vibrations. The frequency is increasing like crazy. People are getting nuts out there, and we're seeing that all the time.
Well, without a question, with all the shootings we're seeing, with all the craziness, people just committing just stupid acts of violence and aggression for no reason whatsoever. Now, I'm not talking about the controlled, manipulated events like, you know, the Vegas shooting and the shooting that happened, or the massacre that took place in Florida, or Sandy Hook, or 9/11. I'm not talking about those. Those were controlled events to put people into fear. But I'm talking about just common, everyday, violent events that people are doing for no reason. I mean, just crazy stuff. And you look at this and you say to yourself, why are people doing this? Why are they losing their minds? And you made a very good point, Betsey. The frequency of the planet has shifted. And you're saying that vibrationally, the frequency of the planet, and I would suggest this, that the frequency of the planet is actually vibrating at a higher level. And I'm talking about the Schumann resonance. But at the same time, you say the frequency, but I'm saying the frequency of the people, the ones who can't handle that frequency shift are still vibrating at that lower level and don't know maybe how to catch up to the frequency that the planet itself is shifting into. And this is maybe why they're going nuts. This is just a thought, anyway.
Oh, I agree with you, Robert. You're right on. You are. I agree totally.
It's just a bunch of craziness. But Betsey, you know, the first thing I forgot to ask you, what led you to write The Serpent Gods? I even skipped that. I was like, I need to ask Betsey, why is she writing? Why did she write this?
Well, I've always been fascinated with dinosaurs. I used to have horrible nightmares about them. You know, living in Idaho, I would dream that they were coming alive up in the mountains and they're going to come get me. I don't know, but they were fascinating. I mean, I was both scared and fascinated at the same time. And I've always wondered that, you know, there was just so many stories about people being abducted by reptilian aliens. And even Barbara Lamb wrote a book about it. She regressed a lot of people that have told stories about them and just incredible things. So I don't know. There was just something that, you know, about our evolution. Things just haven't made sense to me. And I started putting everything in and connecting all the dots, and I went, whoa, you know. I believe that humans are around during the time of the dinosaurs. There's petroglyphs and things all over the West that show that dinosaurs and humans existed at the same time. There's the Ica stones that were found in Peru that show humans and dinosaurs coexisting, and some of them eating us humans. And so yeah.
Well, Michael Cremo proved that through his book, Hidden Archaeology, where he shows, and so does Michael Tellinger, they show these giant footprints right, and normal human footprints next to dinosaurs. And in Africa, where he's from, he shows this giant footprint on a rock, and then people are saying, well, you know, through time and evolution, you know, and when that footprint was made, it was very small, but then it spread out. Baloney. That does not happen. That's all nonsense. Those are all lies. If anybody believes that, they're a few brain cells short on that one. But so I absolutely agree with you, Betsey, that men and dinosaurs, reptilians, walk the planet at the same time, and that's where I think you make the case where whatever so-called deemed gods at that time for the human race, the reptilians or whoever came down, could have easily taken the DNA, the blood, right, from a reptile, a tyrannosaurus, a brontosaurus, the tyrannosaurus. Take their blood, mix it with theirs, and intermix it with the human species at that time that had already been manipulated. That's a very solid, plausible explanation. I haven't heard anybody give me a better one other than through Darwinism. This is how things. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, if you believe that, I got a bridge I want to sell you.
Well, there have been giants that have been found all over the planet. Now, I know some of them are photoshopped on YouTube, but there really have been, especially in, I think it was found near the mounds, the giant mounds here in America, the United States. Yeah, and they covered it up. I mean, as soon as they were found, people came in, took them away, and that was it. They didn't want us to know that giants existed. I don't know why they're covering all this up, but they just don't want us to know anything.
The beginning of the 20th century, everything got shipped off, packaged off into the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian has more archaeological secrets than any other institute on the planet. Without a question. I agree with you 100% on that.
So basically, they don't want us to know the truth, right, Betsey?
That's right, they don't.
Do you think we'll ever find the truth out?
Well, I think there's enough people, awakening right now that they're getting it, that they want to know the truth. And I think the truth is going to come out. We're already seeing a little bit of that, but I think it's going to come out. And I don't know if we're going to get full disclosure on UFOs and aliens, but I think a lot of things are going to come out. They can't keep it hidden forever.
Well, I agree with you that there are good ones and there are bad ones. And that's the bad part. Are you familiar with Ann Eller?
I'm not, no.
Oh, well, she actually had an alien encounter also, and she worked with a very prominent doctor, and she wrote a few books. And I interviewed her, and the aliens that she had encountered were good aliens. She said actually they were all like female, and one was like, she said would be like the head nun. And I had a very good encounter with her when I met her, and we talked back and forth, and she told me if they ever come, don't be afraid of them. They're, very friendly and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, the problem is I wouldn't know whether they were good or bad. I said, so if a spaceship lands in my yard, I'm just going to push my cookie jar out there. And tell them I come in peace. And if they share cookies with me, I might get on the ship.
Right. Unfortunately, with as far as my experience, I could say this, that I never had any bad situation. But then again, I also believe that there are abductions and then there are contacts. Like you, Betsey, you had contacts. I had contacts. There are those others. And mostly this always refers to the same thing. They describe them as these little alien gray guys who abduct them, without their without them, accepting the invitation, more or less. So that's an abduction. Right. You're taken, where you and I and many others have had very benign contact. So I totally agree that as above, so below. There's good people, there's bad people, there's good aliens, there's bad aliens, period.
Robert, were you there to see the Phoenix Lights in 1997?
I was here in 1997 and 2007, both events. I was here,
Oh,
and that's
wow.
that's when my first experience happened. Was in '97. I woke up, Betsey, from my bed to have a huge illuminating light shining through my window somewhere around 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
I looked out my window, and I said, "That's not the moon," but I was half asleep. But I knew it wasn't the moon, and I went back to bed. And then a series of events started to happen. But my events, I believe, go back to my childhood with this particular race of beings that I'm involved with, or they are involved with me. Because, and I don't want to get too far off the subject here because we're talking about you here, but just really quick, at 8 months old, my mother and my aunt found me at the bottom. This is back east, the colonial homes, 2-story homes. Found me in the middle of the bottom of the, how they have upstairs, downstairs. Well, they found me on the staircase between upstairs and downstairs, staring outside the window, looking at a moon. That's the way my mother described it. And I don't think it was the case because an 8-month-old child cannot get out of the crib, crawl down a set of stairs.
No.
And I always questioned that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
exactly.
feel something happened to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No question about it. But I know. But here's the thing, Betsey. You and I have talked many times, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show, about what's happening on the planet, and I don't say it's pre-planned, but what I do say is that these events are taking place specifically because humanity needs to grow up. We need to put all the stupidity away, all the childishness, all the greed and power, and it all needs to go away. And it's all manifesting itself. We're watching it happen on a daily basis, records being broken, record hot, record cold, record snowstorms, hailstones, tornadoes, typhoons, hurricanes, Puerto Rico being wiped out, right? Houston being wiped out, parts of Louisiana getting hit really hard. Just a couple of years back, Sandy, remember what happened to that? All of the coast over there by the pier was wiped out, and yet nobody is just paying attention. They're going on as business as usual. Now, I know you have deep insight to this, and this is one of the things that people really want to hear, Betsey, is what's going to be coming up, what we're going to be facing, and how we're going to have to deal with this as human beings.
Well, Robert, I know a lot of people don't want to hear the bad. They want to hear, everything's going to be wonderful and we're going to live in this utopia world. But the thing is, the reason we have bad things happen in our world is how would we grow if we didn't have the bad things in the world? We wouldn't. I mean, if everything was perfect and, we went around, and nothing happened bad in our lives, how would we grow, evolve? We wouldn't. So I think we need the bad, not to say that we need it all the time, but I think that it helps us in this world to grow, and that's why we're here, to learn lessons of love and compassion and forgiveness, and that's why we're here. And I think aliens, too, are evolving, too, both the good and the bad. Everybody's evolving, and some take longer. I believe that some people come back, and I call them spiritual couch potatoes. They don't want to grow. They are.
That's a good point. That's very good. They're sitting on the sidelines watching what's happening.
Right. And that's okay, But eventually you're going to have to do something in the next life or the next life after that. You can't sit around forever. But I really think that all these things happening here are to awaken us, like you said, and things are going to speed up even more. We're seeing it right now. Everything is just going crazy. Our Earth, hurricanes. They say hurricanes are going to get worse. We may not have as many hurricanes, but they're going to be more intense than we've ever seen because of the oceans warming. We're seeing the oceans already dying with the coral reefs, the bleaching they call it. And we're seeing all kinds of sea creatures dying. Just a few years ago, I think Fukushima had something to do with it, with the radiation coming in when all these starfish start dying. And they couldn't explain it. There's just, what we're doing to our planet, and there's just, 7.8 billion people on the planet. There's just too many people on this planet right now. Our planet isn't that big. Maybe if it was as big as Jupiter, it would be okay, but it's not, and we don't honor anything. I've spent time with Native Americans, and I love the way they think and how they honor the earth. And if they take something, they say a prayer for it. If they killed something for food, they thank it. We don't appreciate it. There's people that go hunting in Africa and kill everything and want to mount it on their their stupid wall and.
And what does that prove? That in itself alone, that's ridiculous. That comes down to total selfishness. It has nothing to do with honoring the animal, the planet, and honoring your body for sustenance. Nothing at all, because that was strictly killing for pleasure.
Right.
And that makes me sick. I hate that.
Yeah, I do too.
Did you ever see the video? Did you ever see the video where I seen it on Facebook? This man and this woman, they were husband and wife. They killed a beautiful lion, and they were taking pictures. They were taking pictures, kneeling over it, and a lion came from in the background and attacked them.
Really?
Good.
Good. Karma.
Good.
Karma.
That is karma.
Yeah.
That's instant karma.
I'm just, I hear these stories about how people treat animals, and I believe animals have souls, and they are evolving too, and they're so intelligent. I've had pets, and I love them dearly, and I know how intelligent they are, and I know they reincarnate. They come back with us, and, they're beautiful, and people abuse them.
I know.
And there's no reason. We have to honor everything that's alive. Everything has a consciousness on this planet, everything. And we have to realize that. Everything has a vibration to it. Everything is alive, the trees. And even though they don't speak to us, they do in a way. They give us oxygen. We have to honor all these things. The water has the water spirits. With Dr. Emoto and the experiments he did with water, proving that water does have a consciousness. So, we've got to start rethinking everything and get back into that earth wisdom. It's, I'm just amazed.
Water absorbs the vibration, Betsey. Did you know that if you write hate on your water, like your water bottle, if you write hate on it, you'll get sick, but if you write love on it, you'll heal yourself.
That's right. And there was experiments where people have actually drowned in a lake or something, and when people came in and started praying over the lake, the vibration of the lake changed. Everything changed about it. And I guess they did like crystals on it, not crystals, but they took the water and froze it to see how the crystals looked. And before, they were ugly and deformed, and once people started praying over the water, they became beautiful again. And so the water was healed. Prayers and intent do amazing things. Miracles happen.
Well, Betsey, you got a very good point. I've watched the experiments where they'll take, like, sand, right, and put it on a board. and that board will be sitting on top of a speaker. And what they'll do is hook it up to a frequency machine, and it's an audible frequency, right? So as they change the frequency from a very low frequency to high frequencies, as they go up escalate the frequency, there's a pattern that emerges on the sand, and it changes with each single frequency, and it creates its own design. And I think the planet, the universe, everything that the universe is made of, including you, me, the stars, and all the matter in between, revolves and evolves and transforms upon the frequency shift that particular molecule or atom or substance exists in. And that, looking at it, I look at it and say, wow, that's absolutely amazing to me. So it makes perfect sense what you just said.
Mm-hmm. You know, right now we're so divided, and I think a lot of that is from the media and everything else. Nobody can agree on anything, right? It's just, every day it just seems to get worse. But can you imagine if we all came together and we actually prayed and we all intended certain things and visualized a different world? I believe that things would change so quickly. I believe that we could clean up our planet. I think we could just do incredible things. And we just can't seem to get together and do that.
Well, what's interesting, Betsey, is I opened my Facebook page, probably about 6 years ago, and I decided when I opened it that it was going to be all about love. And that's all I post is affirmations about love, pictures of Jesus, prayers.
How cool.
And I have almost 5,000 friends, and I don't even know any. I mean, I didn't ask anybody to be my friend. They all attract me. And I get messages every day. Please pray for me. I need your help. You got the same connection I have.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And like people don't want to say the word prayer anymore. I kind of admire Trump. It's like we're saying Merry Christmas. It's okay to say Merry Christmas and all these things. I mean, we've gotten so weird. We've gotten away from all the things. I remember saying prayers in school when I was growing up. Pledge of Allegiance, and we've gotten so far away from everything. It's sad what's happening out there.
About the yin and the yang. Well, the dark side seems to be wanting to take over. That's why the light side we have to turn it up, don't we?
We do. If we're going to turn things around. And right now, I see a lot of things that are going to happen that are going to wake us up. The Earth is trying to wake us up right now with all the volcanoes that are starting to become very active. The earthquakes are getting stronger. We're getting these mysterious booms. And I found a correlation between the booms and a big earthquake. I've noticed whenever we start hearing these booms around the world, there's a big earthquake somewhere. And I find that everything is connected. When these scientists say that, like volcanoes and earthquakes aren't connected, that's like saying that our arm isn't connected to our body.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, what are they saying? Come on.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, everything is connected. We've got to realize that. The moon, the sun, I notice when things are starting to get kind of crazy, sometimes the sun starts acting up, when we're getting crazy on the earth and bad things are happening here. So everything, we're connected to everything, the sun, the moon, the stars. We've got to stop thinking this single-minded way of thinking that we're not connected to anything.
Betsey, in my opinion, it's a bubble type thinking. Everybody puts themselves in their own little bubble, in the world that we live in, and they all say, well, this can't affect me or this can't touch me, and that's the wrong attitude, because when you look at another human being, you're saying, we are brothers. You and I are made of the same stuff, just as the planet, the trees, the water, Everything that exists, we are all the same stuff. So you better start caring about everything that you see and touch and feel, and the people you talk to. Because if you remain indifferent and live in that bubble, this tumultuous situation that we live in is only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Even if you put out a thought of love and kindness to someone you don't know, that is consciousness affecting another consciousness, whether they know it or not, because consciousness is the universe. It is everything that makes up everything that exists. It's that simple, but people don't choose to look at it that way.
That's right. Oh, well said, Robert. Well said. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I post all the time and ask people, please go out and do an act of kindness today. It doesn't have to have anything to do with money. Open the door for someone, help an elderly person carry their groceries, anything. I mean, there's all different ways to do acts of kindness, but we got to start spreading the love.
Yeah, we do. And, you know, I'd like people to do what my mentors told me, like Corbin Harney. He was the spiritual leader of the Shoshone Nation. He died many years ago, but he would talk to the trees. He was trying to tell us that, you know, talk to everything. Go out and talk to it. They hear us. Mother Earth hears us. Sit on the earth and talk to Mother Earth. Talk to the water. He says the water hears you. And, you know, he said it's so important for the children today, you know, that they learn these things. And I just don't see that with children nowadays. They're not taught the respect and how to honor, you know, what's in our world, the natural world, the environment. And I think describing
me. I talk to my trees. I talk to the birds. I talk to the snakes. I talk to everything, and everybody says I'm crazy because I do.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. No, you're not. I've told you this before. You're not, because
2 days ago I was driving down the road and this lady's horse got out. It was in the middle of the road. I stopped. I helped her catch her horse, and we got it cornered in front of the barn. And she said that horse was kind of like very suspicious of strangers. Well, everyone calls me Ellie Mae. I said to the horse, I said, "Don't be afraid, my darling. I'm just Ellie Mae." And, you know, he walked right over to me. She couldn't believe it.
They know. They can feel your vibration. They can feel everything about you. They know your soul. Sure.
You know, when my cat Bella talked to me, you know, years ago, I mean, it was you know, when that happened, you know, you don't know what to say or what to think. You know, you're coming up out of that sleep and you're awake, but your body and mind is still kind of a little bit asleep, right? And all of a sudden you hear in a clear, crystal voice, like I'm just talking to both of you right now, you hear, "Oh, it's time for you to get up now." You know, I would have thought, if something like that were to happen, that would be like something angelic and beautiful. "Oh, sweetheart, it's time for you to get up now." No. Oh, no. No. She was like, "No, it's time for you to get up now." and that was, you know, the one and only time she connected with me. But I'm like, geez, you could have been a little bit nicer about it, I thought.
Robert, my dogs tell me that every morning, and if I don't get up, they keep nudging my foot.
Right? Right? I mean,
you know what? We're into the second hour, so why don't you tell us some predictions?
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Here we go. Well, let's see. I'm going to talk about 3D holographic technology. I believe that a lot of things we're seeing in the sky, UFOs, a lot of things, and I believe even people, I think the aliens have perfected 3D holographic images, and we're now getting into it now, and I think our military has maybe used it. But a lot of these things may look real, but they're not. You know, is it real or is it Memorex? You know, you're not going to be able to tell what's what, except for the vibrational rate is different. If it's fake...
I was just going to... right. No, it's a good point, Betsy. I mean, is this part of the development of the military using the technology that they basically stole from the ETs to project these holographic technological machines to make us fear it, to keep us in line, or is it even beyond the fear? Is it to further their agenda to have total control over this planet once again?
Probably control.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be control. Okay. Project Bluebeam was written by a guy that felt that sometime that this holographic thing is going to be seen like Jesus in the sky, and everybody will want to, follow whatever's going on. That people will be controlled in this way. But I think there's been holographic things going on for ages, and I don't know if did you see Celine Dion when she was next to Elvis Presley singing? He was a holographic image, and he looked so real on stage. I think this is on American Idol, and you can go to YouTube and see it. Just put in Celine Dion and Elvis, and you can't tell who's who, who's real and who isn't. It's that real. So, yeah. And I believe that this technology, we're going to have some kind of, it's not going to be TV, but we're going to have, holographic images in our house. We'll be watching that. It'll seem so real. People will be talking to us, but, they won't be real. And I think that a lot of these alien-type experiences people have are holographic images.
Oh, but do you think so? Are they projected from the intelligence of the aliens? Because they're extremely intelligent. They could basically make us believe or think anything they want, or physically make us see something with their technology. Right.
Well, probably all the above. I think that, and I think these holographic images are going to even. You can touch them. I think it's going to be that real that they're just projections. They're not just projections. They're going to be almost like physical.
So you're saying almost like a holodeck from Star Trek kind of thing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's a good analogy.
Well, that'd be absolutely incredible. If that technology would actually come around, because then you could, I mean, who would need movies anymore? Who would need, really, bring your friends into a holo suite, right? And write your own adventure story and then go through that adventure. That'd be pretty amazing. That'd be amazing to me, yeah. I don't think I'd ever leave the holodeck.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all possible, and I think further into our future, teleportation. I think time travel. I think they're already working on it. Maybe CERN is working on it. I think that.
Well, you just mentioned time travel. Very interesting. I happen to believe it's very real. I think it's very true. I listened to Al Bielek's story many, many times. I never found any flaws with his information, by the way. And that guy's
Philadelphia experiment, huh?
Exactly. And here's the thing, he talked about seeing the future in the future, and he says the coastlines were all different. Everything had changed, and I guess this is what we're seeing right now. And because Betsy, I know you've had the visions through remote viewing, and as well as just cognitive information coming in. Are you seeing this happening all within a certain time frame, or is it going to be an expanded long period of events as this takes place?
Are you talking about time travel?
No, I'm talking about the changes on the planet.
Oh, the changes. Oh, no.
Yeah.
I think things are moving very quickly now, and I have been seeing stories about what's going on with earthquakes in both poles, the South Pole the Arctic
Yes.
and the Antarctic.
Yes,
And big fissures forming in the Antarctic. And I think, our Earth could actually, the poles could actually shift. There could be a big wobble, and we've been told that many times that, it could happen. And, of course, there's all these predictions that Planet X is going to hit the Earth, and I don't believe that. But I think
Either do
Planet
I, not
X
for a
is
moment.
out there. Yeah, so I think it's out there.
That's not what I'm hearing, is that it's going to hit the Earth. What I've been hearing is that it's going to spin around the sun and grab us in the gravitational pull. But what I'm hearing that's going to hit the Earth is the debris field that it brings in.
Right.
Now, let me tell you what I saw yesterday, you guys.
What did you see?
With my roommate. We're driving back home, and I went, oh, my God, Jeff, look right there. You know that picture Dave Dobbs put up of the meteor coming down and all the cloud going around it?
Yeah, I've seen that many times.
We saw that in the sky. It was coming down straight, and the white cloud was burning around it, and then it went behind the clouds, but then we saw two more come in on an angle, and one of them had a red streak behind it. So, yes, debris is coming in right now.
No question about it.
Was that real or Memorex, though? Was it a holographic image or?
Looked pretty darn real to me, but like you said, holograms, but, I mean, more and more people are videoing this stuff.
Right.
And, there's so much weird stuff we're seeing in the skies right now.
I know. And it's going to get stranger, too.
Well, I was just going to say that we've been being chemtrailed to death for the last 5 days here. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about, Betsey, today, there were no less than 25, 30 streaks going across the sky from morning till this evening, and this has been for the last 5 days. Now, I've heard both sides of the argument. Yes, they're protecting us from the massive radiation that's coming off the sun, most likely due to its binary twin, Planet X, and its companions. So they're trying to stave off the radiation. I have no idea what kind of effect it's really having, and they would never tell us anyway. But the other part of it is this, that with all those sulfates that they're displacing into the atmosphere, what kind of damage it's doing to us, to all the living organisms on the planet. And that's everything, and the whole planet. So, there are dual effect things going on. So, I guess, you do this, try to save the planet, yet you're killing everything on the planet while you're doing this. I mean, it always seems like the typical behavior of humans.
It's crazy. And, I've been watching the chemtrails since the 90s, and I've just, I've photographed them and some of the strange things I've seen up there. And, of course, they claim that there's aluminum and barium and all these things. And where does all that stuff go? It goes into our water. Aluminum, they say, creates Alzheimer's and dementia. Look at all the thousands and thousands of people with dementia now. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
Either have I.
Yeah, and autistic children, never.
Yeah, I mean, who ever heard of autism going even into the 90s? And all of a sudden, you have all these autistic children, and, the Alzheimer's goes up by 15, 20%, and nobody bothers to question this? It's insanity.
Yeah,
it's crazy to me. It's crazy.
Yeah. And, it's going into our water, it's going into our plants. And I think that's why these wildfires are getting so bad. I think the chemtrails have actually dried everything out, the trees and everything. I've never seen anything. And these trees are dying because the insects are killing it. They're not strong anymore.
What is the aluminum? The aluminum in the chemtrails has gotten into the trees, and it's made the trees like a matchstick.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what's happening, exactly. And it's scary. The fires are going to get worse. In some areas there's going to be droughts. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are on coastal areas. I'm telling them move further inland. You know, it's going to be bad. There's going to be all kinds of flooding, big waves. I had dreams of these things years ago. So, yeah.
You know, and you just brought up a good point. I mean, everybody's pretty much anticipating now to some degree at certain points. I mean, they've done all the drills. They keep running the drills off of Washington, Northern California, Washington, and Vancouver about the Juan de Fuca Cascadia Plate, you know, getting ready to do its shift. And, boy, that is going to be something to behold. I mean, if everybody thought, you know, what happened in Japan with Fukushima was something, when this thing goes, I wouldn't want my worst enemy in the world to go through what is coming on this side of the planet.
You are so right, Robert. It's coming too. I've been watching the earthquakes along the Oregon coast, and there's been quite a few lately up there in Vancouver area. And boy, the mega thrust earthquake, when that hits, there will be the tsunami, and it's going to move big time. It could be like a 9-point earthquake easily.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. But, you know, I go back to Billy Meyer's information through his Palladian connection. They're talking about, you know, through Michael Horn, of course.
Right.
But they're talking about when they talked about this, saying that when that happens, it's going to be, and I can't even imagine this, but they said 5 minutes. 5 minutes of shaking.
Oh, my gosh.
Can you imagine? I mean, what happened in Japan wasn't 5 minutes. I don't think it was even a minute. 5 minutes? It would level everything.
Yeah, it would.
It's really going to affect the food chain, isn't it, Betsey?
It is, and already we're seeing that, not just with, you know, with earthquakes, you know, that would do it too, but all these natural disasters, the extremes in weather. I think chemtrails have a lot to do with what's going on with our weather, and we're seeing, you know, just incredible, you know, like flip-flop temperatures and heat and extreme cold. And here in Idaho last year, we had the biggest snow that they had seen in over 100 years. We had like 5 feet of snow. We couldn't even get out of our subdivision for a week. But it's never like that. That was the first time, you know, in ages. And, you know, it's just going to get worse.
Betsey. Exactly. Record-breaking everything. And they, you know, in the mainstream propaganda, mainstream press is silent on all this. Either they know it and they're a part of it, or they're just stupid. And I'm going to go with the latter, that they know it and they're a part of it.
Yeah, right. They do. They know. They know it's coming. Sure they do. And another prediction is that, you know, what we're seeing with all this sexual harassment and all this weird stuff, everybody is being blamed. I mean, we're going to see more of this stuff with people that, you know, we actually looked up to. We're just going to be shocked by the things that come out. Just wait and see. And there's going to be more.
Is the bad guy's going to be revealed.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be more information coming about Hillary Clinton. Hillary's not out of the woods yet. She's in.
I can't wait to see that thing. That I don't call her a woman. I call her a thing. I can't wait to see that thing locked up behind bars with the rest of her pedophile buddies.
Yeah. And, you know, Bill Clinton, too, you know, a lot of people died around Bill Clinton when he was governor and even when he became president. And I don't think that's a coincidence. They died under strange circumstances, people that knew things about Bill and Hillary. They're not nice people. They aren't.
No, they're not.
You know, and he's getting his karma, because if you look at his pictures right now, he looks so sickly.
He does. Yeah, he sure does. Absolutely. Yeah, there's something going on there. Yeah. So it's interesting. I predicted last year, about 6-7 months before Donald Trump was elected, that he would become our next president. And I had a lot of people that were very angry with me on Facebook. They were no longer my friend.
Right.
And I had a vision, and I had to tell them what I saw, and I stuck to my guns because I saw this so clearly, him taking the oath of president, and it did happen. But I see him just battling, Congress. They want him out of there. They're going to try and shut him down any way they can. And he's going to deal with this. He's not going to be able to clean up the swamp like he wants to. It's so deep, and there's so much corruption in our government. It's just unreal. And, I'm just not sure I don't know. I think he's going to finish out this term, but I keep getting that maybe Pence could be the next president. And I don't know what would happen, but I've looked at their numbers, and it's very strange. They're both Geminis. And I put president in front of Pence's name, his last name, not doing Mike Pence, and they both have the same number, so I think he could easily become president. And like I said, I'm not sure why or how that could happen, but I think it's quite possible.
Well, that's interesting, and it's also scary because right now we're at a time where we can get our country back. The deep state, the cabal, like you say, the New World Order, Illuminati, call them what you will, are fighting back as hard as they can. But here's the other side of that, too, and I like your thought of this as well. The cryptocurrencies are breaking us free from the manipulation of the monopoly of the monetary system. In other words, they can't control them, and it's actual true contracts that can't be altered, shifted, and they are in plain sight for everybody to see. And I think this is part of the fear factor that's being played in, and now all this corruption and secrets revealed more or less are coming to light, because the old system, Betsey, is dying, and I see them dying along with it. What's your thoughts on that?
I think so too, and I see all these people getting involved with bitcoins and cryptocurrency, and I'm going, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. There's, that's all electronic stuff, and I have a feeling that something's going to happen to the grid. I don't know if it's going to be hacked into, but I think there's going to be something, and I just telling people to keep cash on hand,
Well, I agree with you. Definitely have cash on hand.
Yeah. I just think something's coming. I don't know that it's going to be a crash with, the financial situation, but I think the bubble is going to burst. I'm already hearing about, excuse me, just a moment. I'm hearing about people in bankruptcies now and foreclosures with homes in Utah, Nevada, even in California in some areas. So things are, and I'm even hearing about some mortgage companies that are shutting their doors. So that, that kind of reminds me of what was going on in the big fiasco with the mortgage thing, 2008, 2007, so I think something's going to happen because of that. I mean,
Are you seeing people forced out of their homes and relocating?
Yeah, oh gosh, there's people relocating all over the place. We're getting tons of California people here. They're selling their homes in California for incrediable amounts, right? And they're moving here, and they're forcing the prices up here in Idaho. Yeah. So it's insanity what's going on. And a lot of people, because of the disasters, Houston, the tornadoes are going to get worse all over the country. These people are going to want to get out of those areas. And where are they going to go? They're going to go to the Northwest, in areas where there's not tornadoes or hurricanes and big earthquakes. And so, there's going to be a lot of people on the move.
Now, you said you see a lot of earth changes. What happens in the Michigan area? Are we in a bad area, do you think?
Well, I think that, when a lot of these volcanoes start going off, they actually cause big earthquakes. And I think they're kind of a signal. There's always warnings. Mother Earth always gives us warnings if we listen. Everything has a warning system, and I think that we need to watch those warnings. And in my new book, Mystic Revelations, I give warnings of how we can tell about earthquakes and everything, because I want people to really, start using your innate psychic powers, because we all have them. I mean, even our ancestors had to have this psychic power to survive, that, the wild creatures out there and warring tribes trying to kill them, and they didn't know the weather. They couldn't, look at a TV and know that, a hurricane was coming. They had to trust their intuition. So I think we're going to have
Betsey, that makes a lot of sense, because all the noise that we're filled with constantly from all the frequencies we deal with, TV, computers, radios, cell phones, microwaves, it continuously numbs our psychic ability, because, back in the 19th century, there were a lot of psychics who were able to predict pretty accurately what was going on at their times. But it seems like, because all the noise that we're dealing with, you got to fight even harder to get that psychic information, the information of the universe that pertains to us, to come forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is getting tougher.
They are poisoning our pineal gland to keep our psychic closed?
I think with what they're putting out in the universe, like we were talking, microwaves and all, I think that's part of it. And I think the food that we're eating, too, is the GMO food.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
That's affecting us a lot of that. So, yeah. And I felt it, too, that I used to have more dreams, lucid dreams, and I don't seem to have that as much as I used to. I still have dreams, and I still have psychic things that happen, and my sister, my spirit sister comes to visit all the time. But I don't know, I just feel like things are being blocked, and I hate that feeling. I just don't know, I feel that if I got out of the city, maybe I would feel better, and things would start to flow and get away from TV and just all the horrible things that are on TV.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, though, what you just said. I mean, getting away from all the frequencies, getting out more grounded with nature will open up that psychic connection. And granted, not everybody has the ability to do that, especially the cash or the physical means to do that. So by all means, I agree with you. If you have that ability, do it. And like you said, so many people are leaving California by the droves. And raising the prices all over the place. But there's going to come a point, and there's a specific question there. There's going to come a point where we're going to see that dollar collapse. Do you see that happening within the end of this year or going into next year? How do you see that unfolding, Betsey?
I think towards the end of 2018, going into 2019, I think that there is going to be, right now the stock market has been higher than it's ever been. People are making a lot of money, right? With Trump. They can complain about Trump, but they're making money, in the stock market big time. So, I just feel that bubble is going to burst with, housing, with everything. Right now we're just seeing everything is just expanding so fast. But I saw that food is going to be like gold. Oh, yeah. I
agree. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
That led.
I've had a few dreams and some things too. But yeah, I saw what I saw was a lot of people fighting over food.
Yeah. And that's where you need to barter. If it comes to that, you know, your Bitcoin and your cryptocurrency and all that are going to be worthless. And
and I'll agree with you, Betsy. I'll definitely agree with you to that extent, absolutely. But here's the other flip side, and I've thought about this a lot. And then let me get your thought on it. I mean, if it comes down to that situation where you know there's that total collapse, the most important, I mean, gold and silver won't mean a damn thing. What will mean things are going to be food, water, and something to protect yourself with. And that will be more valuable than gold or silver, cryptocurrencies, or anything else on the planet.
Sure.
I mean,
do you feel that the people that are on the planet right now, we chose to be here at this time to help
absolutely.
people transition through this?
Yes. Oh yes, I do. And I feel that most of us are Atlanteans. And, you know, we were here during that time. Atlantis was very advanced in technology, and they misused their technology just like we're doing now. There was the greed and, you know, the technology that was so important to them, the great and mighty crystal they had. And instead of just using it in a natural way, they started turning it on their enemies and shooting it through the earth to kill their enemies. And guess what happened? It started causing inner earth problems and heating up the core and big earthquakes. And before they knew it, their great big continent was breaking up, and many of them had to go to Egypt. Many of them fled to South America. And that's why we see these pyramids all over the world that you know, they brought their technology. Egypt, you know, there's proof that they were operating on the brain thousands of years ago. They had electricity. They had many things. And there's even stories in Sanskrit writings, ancient Indian texts that tell of flying machines and wars that were fought up there, and it sounds like even they had nuclear weapons, and you know, everything. There's nothing new under the sun, like they say, which is true. You know,
I agree.
Let me ask you this about California. You know, I've been to California. I lived there for 2 years, and I could not believe the way people are in that state. And I couldn't wait to get back to Michigan. I just felt like I was surrounded by evil. And, you know, all the things that are happening in California right now with these fires, and then we're going to have this earthquake that's coming. Do you feel that this is happening in this area because of all the negative energy and evil that goes on in that state?
Oh, sure. I think so. That's part of it, too. And one thing that people aren't talking about, there's a lot of satanic stuff that's being practiced out there, a lot of negative occult stuff, and that's come out. Father Malachi Martin talked about it on Art Bell's show a lot, and what was going on, you know, with a lot of these major people that are involved in dark occult things. And I think that's, you know, I think that's going to come out eventually.
I think it's coming out now, Betsy.
What's that?
I agree. Now, if we're surrounded by these people that are satanic ritual people and occult, what would you recommend for someone that has these people living around in their neighborhood for protection for themselves?
Just imagine a light around you, you know, like you're encased in a white bubble. And call on your spirit guides, your guardian angels. They hear you to protect you. Absolutely. Because I believe that the light is stronger than the dark. I really do.
No question about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question about it in my mind. And the other thing I was going to say, Betsy, is earlier you saying all these satanic cults. It's all coming out now. We're seeing it all unfold in front of our eyes right now as we're speaking. And like you said earlier, it's going to get a hell of a lot worse than it is going to get better. You know, it's basically cleansing the planet. This is part of the process of the cleansing, which also comes with the physical cleansing that's taking place, which, of course, the Indians talked about. And I remember, like you said earlier, years ago, I was listening and watching and reading about, you know, the great cleansing that we're now starting to witness. And yet, people are still blind to what is going on. They're allowing them their greed and grasp of power to get into to that is getting in the way of their true realization of why they're here and to experience consciousness and grow from this conscious experience into the next life.
Right, right.
Betsey, do you think that the pole shift that's about to happen is a purification of the planet and a cleansing of the planet? Do you think that the reason people are being so screwy-looey right now with a lot of anger and hate is that their spirit is having a hard time adjusting to the new earth and the frequency of love?
Oh, I think so. Oh, yeah, I think you're so right. I feel that, and you know, they're just not. You know, if they don't bend, they're going to break, and that's what's happening. You know, if you're not like a reed, you know, then and you're not bending, then you're going to break out there because of those vibrations, the frequency changing, and without the earth cleansing itself, you know, I don't see how the earth is going to survive. I really don't. It's in really a bad way right now. Things are really dire. You know, everything is being destroyed on our planet. And if something doesn't happen, if Mother Earth doesn't take control and cleanse herself and shake some of us off, I don't see how the Earth is going to survive. And, you know, even Stephen Hawking, you know, he's talked about it, how in 600 years the Earth is going to be a fire. It's going to be just a hot place, and nobody's going to be alive.
He's only off by 599 years, by the way.
Probably. But, you know, I think that if it continues, it's going to be like Mars, where I think Mars is really a place that kind of is a mirror for us to look at, that there was a great civilization and maybe they were so advanced they actually destroyed themselves. And look, you know, the nuclear, I really think Kim Jong-un, I call him Kim Undone. He really is. You know, I'm worried about him. I really am. Rocket Man, as Trump calls him. But, I really think that he could start something. I really do. He's a loose cannon. He really is.
I agree. Do you know that there is a satellite that they have that goes over the United States twice a day that has an EMP weapon on it?
Wow.
I saw General Roberts was on the Jim Baker show, and they were talking about it. And he said they were advising the Pentagon and the people that are in charge of our military that it should be taken out, but they're skeptical about shooting it down because China won't like it, but they have the ability to take our whole electrical grid down with the push of one button.
Oh, sure. And then what? Can you imagine?
Well,
everything went down.
I was simply going to say that
people will die. Millions.
Yeah.
The first would be the weak. People who have to be on dialysis or breathing machines.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean,
and
it
those
affects the country dramatically.
Now, you and there would survive. And, you know, many of the indigenous people all over the world have been communicated with what they call sky people, which are aliens, But they've been told because they know how to live off the land that they'll be the ones that survive these huge earth changes coming. And the ones in the city, how are they going to survive? They don't know how to live off the land. And someone like you that lives in the country and has your own animals and everything and grows your own crops and everything, you could survive. But
it's so funny that you said that, Betsey, because I get telepathic communication, and I was telepathically told that when all this happens, my home will be protected and that I am going to be running a hospital for children after the fact.
Wow.
That I am going to be here to help the children that are wounded and suffering, and that people are going to come to me. Well, I'm like, who in the world's telling me all this? And it's so funny because I started teaching holistic healing and learning about natural supplements and what to take for high blood pressure, and and it just I never expected to do all this. So I guess I must have found my path then, right?
I would say that you are being communicated with and told to prepare for these things, and so you are getting the message loud and clear. It sounds like. Good for you.
Yeah, I was, my friends told me, they said, look, when all this comes down, they said, we'll be here to help, but we're going to pick the wheat from the chaff. They were very specific about what they said. That's very telling, the wheat from the chaff. I mean, because they know our consciousness. They don't have to speak to us verbally. They don't have to come down here and shake our hands and say, hi, my name is so-and-so. No. Their technology and ability is so incredible, and I'm talking about the good guys, not the bad guys, that they have that ability to say, hey, when the poop hits the fan, we're going to be here to help. Don't worry. We're not going to let you we're not going to let you basically be reduced to, single cell organisms. It's not going to happen. And that told me a lot when they said that, and I said, okay, so all of us, you, me, Badbaby, and everybody listening to this program, and everyone listening to information like this is well aware, and we're the ones, and I've always said this. I said we're the ones who are going to be really helping everybody else through these situations as they unfold.
That's right. We are.
Well, one of the things that I find interesting, and I do many, many shows about the Earth changes and Planet X and what's going to happen, and a lot of people are living in fear, like, where do I go? Where do I move? Where do I run? What do I do? Do you have any information, inside information? And, I have no fear. And I think that what's going to happen is if you're supposed to survive this, you will be okay. And those that are supposed to perish are supposed to perish. And the reason I think that is, have you ever heard what the Dolores Cannon said, that when this happens, that the planet is going to shake and it's going to throw the evil off like fleas on a dog?
I believe it. I believe it. It's coming. It is. And, big changes are coming. I want people to prepare out there. But, you're right. The people that are meant to go, and I believe, a lot of people go at the same time, like the people that were killed, in the shooting in Vegas. And then, groups of people decide that they're going to die together. And that sounds very strange, but I believe that we choose how we want to die. And a lot of people want to go together, like if they're on a plane and it crashes, and one survives and all of them died. And even at 9/11, so many people said that they had a feeling they shouldn't go in that day.
Right.
And they were told, something told them to stay home, or something happened. Our guardian angels watch over us when we're meant to survive. And what I believe, too, is this isn't our real world. The other side is the real world.
That's right.
Yeah, this is just, we're just on a stage. We're all the actors, and we're playing out these dramas in each lifetime, and we're learning. And we come back, and there's no death.
That's right.
We're eternal.
So I've been seeing a lot of people pass away right now, and my theory, everyone's like, what's going on? How come everybody's dying? And my theory on that is that they are being taken off the planet before this happens by whoever, their angels or whatever, because they feel that they cannot deal with what's going to happen.
Right. I believe that too. You are so right, Badbaby. You are so right.
Well, I tell you what, you mentioned earlier about, people dying in groups. I agree with you, and they all made contracts. That's what we do on the other side. We make those contracts.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get together. We're going to do this. We're going to live our lives, but we're going to go at this time because of these specific events. And that's part of the learning process. So I absolutely agree. Again, who's meant to be, because we don't have that memory of the last lifetime where we went into the real side of reality and life, and we don't take that information with us. So, but there's always that subtle, nudging of how your life kind of leads down certain paths. We don't know why it happens, right? But specifically, we're there, and I don't believe in coincidence. So everything is happening the way it's supposed to.
I have to tell you, met for a reason.
What's that? I'm sorry.
We all met for a reason tonight.
Absolutely.
No, there's no coincidence. I have to relate a story, and I think it's true. I heard it on the radio the other day that a couple that survived the shooting in Las Vegas, they were driving down the road somewhere in California and were killed in a car accident just weeks after. Did you hear that story?
I did. I heard the same exact story.
Isn't that strange? See, maybe they were supposed to have died.
For some reason, they didn't transaction over in the shooting, and they were supposed to, so they still were taken.
Right.
Or they were taken out, one or the other, but they were supposed to go either way. Betsey, I got to tell you, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. This
I
has
love
been
speaking
wonderful.
with you. Really. But before we go, I want you to put out your website where they can get your latest book, The Serpent Gods, and your predictions book as well.
Oh, okay, sure. My website is BetseyLewis.com, and Betsey is a little bit different. It's Betsey, and Lewis is LEWIS.com. And I've got my Earth News, which I post. It's my blog, daily blog, and I put what's going on with the earthquakes, if I have any predictions about earthquakes. A lot of times I feel these earth movements and things going on, any conspiracy theories, so check that out. I put it up daily. And my two books, Ancient Serpent Gods, that came out last year. I was on Coast to Coast, and it's been doing very well. And then my new book is Mystic Revelations, The Prophecy of Numbers and Numerology. Let me tell you, that's a vibration too, and that's powerful. Numbers are powerful, and you can change. If you change your name, you can change your future, your destiny too. You can bring about different things. Yeah.
Wow.
Robert,
And
I don't know your full name.
And the number of letters in our name means something?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like Robert is a number 9. I'm a number 9. So, send me your information.
You got me there. I'm oblivious.
Well, send me your full name and I'll do it for you. Email me and I'll give that to you.
And Betsey, I also know that you're still doing regressions. If anybody wants to get a hold of you personally to do a regression with you, how do they get a hold of you to do that?
Okay. I won't be able to do anything until January. I've kind of put off my readings in, and I'm moving, and I've got some surgery coming up. So probably,
that's right.
Yeah, so probably January, but do contact me, and I'll do that. I do an hour regression, and sometimes amazing things come through.
Well, Betsey, I am so thankful to meet you. You're just a blessing in my life. And I know that you're going to have some difficulties, but I am going to send you pure love and white light and help you get through all that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Same
You're so
here.
sweet. I just love talking to both of you. I wish we could talk all night.
Well, we will have you back when you get settled and everything. In the first of the year, we'll have you back out here again.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Thank you so much. And I just send you blessings and have a wonderful holiday season, both of you. You're just so special.
Same to you,
God
Betsey. Merry Christmas, my dear, and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you next year.
Oh, great. You too. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, Betsey.
Well, that was a very interesting show, and I'm sorry that people that came in were having difficulties with the sound. You're just going to have to pull the recording up. And, Robert, I want to thank you. You were just a sweetie, cutie, patootie tonight.
Well, I love being here with you. And you know what? Speaking of Michael Horn, I'm going to get a hold of him, and we'll set him up for the show. It'll be terrific. We'll do the Palladian predictions as well.
Oh, great. Okay.